Now then, guys, it's a shame I've sort of come in halfway through with this turntable with the Garrard 401. But what I'm doing here, I've etched a bit of circuit board. I've taken the copper off it, and I'm making a new plate for the wires and this switch to sit on the side of the motor. Now, I'll just grab the other motor, and you can probably see there, that's what I'm doing. If we turn him around, yeah, that's probably better for you. So yeah, that board is, I've just got to get used to this camera back to front. I haven't set it up properly. Okay, so that's the board. That's what I'm making here. That's what I've made to mount this terminal block on. Now this terminal block, you got 2 screws there. That's your AC inputs. So that's those two are where your actual power cable connects, and of course there's a separate ground wire on these. But we'll go through all that as I'm doing a bit. As I said, I've already started this, so yeah, I'm sorry that's this sort of got away on me. I thought, oh, maybe you guys like the suit, and yeah, you do. Okay, so I'm going to put this wire in position here. Now, to do this, I normally heat them. They're stiff wires, it's older wires, but still quite okay. So what I'm going to do is heat it and push it down into position. And then I've got to lift the green wire and the black wire from this end and put him through that little hole there. So they come out of the motor, go up through the hole, and once we've got both sides in, that screws onto the motor. Okay, and then our terminal block screws onto here. Right, I will unsolder these. You don't need to see me do this. There's, as I said, there's a green one here with the white. Okay, so the green and white go together on this particular machine. And there's a black one here. And they're the two, the green and the black, that I'm lifting to get through there. And by the way, there's the broken one. This is what we had to replace. So just made out of circuit board, and at some stage this has been dropped and snapped off. Okay, I've heated him up a little bit there, so made the wires a lot more pliable. And we'll just bring the wires out each side of our little terminal block. And he will go on like so. We'll find our nut and bolt, and then we'll mount this down. We've also got a couple of little holes here, or a hole here, that we can secure the wires, and a couple of cable ties on this as well. Okay, so what I'm doing here is just putting a little bit of power cable on there so that we can test it, run it. I'm just putting blue-brown, which is colours in Australia, as it doesn't really matter which goes where. There is no information on this as to which one they would like, but that's what's written on our cover. Okay, so nothing on there. So we're just going to put these on the other end. I'll put a terminal block so that it's quite easy for anyone else or myself to connect this and run it once the turntable's done. There we go. Our little board is now complete, and you can see how that would have got broken because it sticks out below the level of the motor, and of course you rest it down on it. If it goes down hard, bang, there's your broken board. Almost done for the motor. I'll put a terminal block on here. Now on the terminal block, I'll be putting boot laces on the leads. And if you're unfamiliar with boot laces or boot lace ends, I can show you how this is done. A very good way of ending cables. It's that one wasn't quite long enough. So in around 10, 12 mil, strip them, and I'll get the laces and show you. Now, guys, in the trade, we normally call them boot lace ends, and they're just little fellas like that. You put the wire inside them. Okay. You've got a tool that looks like this that squeezes up. Put him in, squeeze him, and it's done. And it's a nice end to put in a terminal block. Matter of fact, I will be cutting one little piece off the end because he's poking out, the wire is poking out a little bit longer, which I like doing them that way. There we go. We get here. Snip him off there. Snip him off there. And there we go. A couple of nice little ends to slip into our, whatever you're putting it in. Yeah, just I'll be using a 3-terminal block because there'll be also a ground wire going to the terminal block. Once I get this back in, back together. All right, well that's almost it for the motor. We do have a little neon here to give us our speed, synchronization on the outside of the platter. I don't have it handy at the moment, so we're just finishing this for the moment, and that's sort of a little bit later on. We've got to work out where everything goes, but at the moment, that will do us, and we'll start on the next segment. I'll also connect this to power, just make sure everything's right. Now, just before we finish the motor, I just thought of this. Our magnet arm assembly that goes across the magnet is under here. and goes across, and that's our speed control. I'm going to put a little bit of grease on him. I've cleaned him up, and I'd forgot about him actually. So we'll put a little bit of grease on the shaft. It doesn't need a lot, but certainly would require some over a period of time. Okay. Okay. Now, there's our magnet. So that's the magnet that actually just covers onto the disc when we move our variable speed. That's lovely. Okay. Now we'll get him together, put his circlip on. And these circlips, I suppose you've heard them called the "Oh God" clips. Reason being, when you're taking them off, they come off in a hurry and they go up to the other end of the workshop, and normally your first response is, oh God, where did that go? So yeah, they're just known as "Oh God" clips. Okay, we'll bit of trivia for you. I'll get some power. We'll hook it up just to make sure everything's right, and we'll hook our power up now just to make sure everything's right and everything's running right with this motor. We're not doing the other one at the moment, but yeah, sort of almost doing two turntables at once. And as usual, we'll put it through our dim bulb, always just in case. Always just in case. Right. That fella on. That one on. Okay. We're through the dim. We've got 230 volts on our variac. Dim. Turn him on. And our little switch here is the turntable switch, which enables the motor. And there she goes. As you can see. Running very nicely. Now, slowing down. It's amazing how that a very simple mechanism works to vary the speed of an AC motor. So if you ever want to vary your turntable speed, you could adapt a disc and a little arm with a magnet and vary the speed. There now. Okay, everything's working fine. Let's get on with the next bit. Okay guys, well this is the motor that I started on some time back, and as you saw we had to make up another circuit board, well a little board, and I used circuit board, etched the copper off and put our terminal block on there. Also put our cables on there for our 240 volts in this case at 50 cycles, and our switch which I had already checked, and we've got to come back and do our strobe neon. Now this one is finished. I've sort of started this video almost, yeah, as I've been going into the first one. I've thought, oh well, maybe you guys would like to see it. Now this one, this is the second turntable, and actually this is the turntable that's actually assembled, not the one that's in pieces. Now this one, I haven't done anything with the motor. I want to strip the motor on this, and I want to oil the bearings, check the motor out inside, just make sure everything is right with it. And I thought you guys would probably like to come along for the ride on doing this one. So yeah, we're going to strip him down and yeah, have a look what's inside. And we do have to find the panel for the terminal block put our cables on there when we're all finished and get it the same as the other one. Okay, now to get this is fully suspended on springs, as you can see. To get them out, we release the inside circlip of each of the 3 pins, and we do that at the top, and the same on the motor base at the bottom. You release the inside circlip, the pin comes out, releases the spring. So we've got to get this, the motor out of this carriage assembly. I will take this off as well, our variable speed control, magnet, whatever you want to call it, and we've got to grease the shaft here. Not too bad there at the moment, but yeah, it's a little bit sticky there, irrespective of the magnet and what it's doing. Okay, so first of all, we've got to take our pulley off, the collar off, which all comes off the top. Okay, so another thing I want to show you too, I do have a service manual on these, so we'll run through it step by step. Righto guys, well we'll split him in half now. I've got sort of the motor out, sitting out. I normally, when I'm doing these, put a bit of masking tape around the cables just to keep them all in line and out of the road of what you're doing. Otherwise the damn things keep tangling with what you're doing up here. 2 nuts, and we'll be able to split this little fella in half. Okay, they should push through. Now we get a bigger screwdriver to get in there. I'll just find one. I've got one here somewhere. There we go. There we are. Very gently pull him up. And there we go. That's our front bearing. And in the round underneath here there's a felt washer. We will soak some oil in that, give him a little while before we put him back together. Now I'm going to clean all this up first, so this is a bit of a project that just takes a while. Our stator, or rotor, sorry. There he is. Don't drop these if you're doing them. You don't need that shaft bent. There's a little bit of rubbish on him there, which we'll clean up. That bearing at the back has, there's a little bit of oil on it, but it's been fairly warm by the look of it. Okay, now the next bit that can come out is this piece. Now I'm going to have to release our little board here. There's 2 screws. We don't take this one off, just the 2 screws. I thought, seeing this is going to be a long-term project, we're just getting both the turntables done, I'll bring us in on more or less the whole segment of it. Okay, now that should lift out with the cables and everything. There we go, and we've got a ground wire here that is actually cable tied in, so I'll just take that off. That's all. The ground connection is also on one of our bolts here. There we go. Just put him back together so we know where things are. And there we go. Another bolt there. And that's the back section. Very solid, very cast cast. If you're doing these, don't do this over cement or anything. You drop these and they will shatter. It appears to be cast iron or something like that. But just going to clean it up. I'm not submersing it in any sort of liquid because I don't want any other material getting into the bearings. So only oil in there, but we'll get him cleaned up fairly well. So there we go. That's that. There's your coils. Fairly straightforward design, but a very, very, very well made motor. Okay. Now, that peg there is also variable in height. I'm not touching that at the moment. There's no need to. The machine was running okay. So, okay, we'll get these two cleaned up. The carriage itself that it came out of, yeah, just brush him up, get him cleaned up a bit. I'll take those little fellas off the springs, the little rubber protectors, because I know what'll happen. They'll end up on the floor somewhere or somewhere else and won't be able to find them. Plus we'll be cleaning them up as well. Alright, so yeah, just a spring-loaded carriage. Nothing special about it, nothing to do here, only clean it up. Has been rubbing there a little bit at one stage, possibly maybe left not quite level, something like that, maybe. But anyway, okay, what else can I tell you about it at the moment? There's another little cam that we took off the top. Now, all this has to be cleaned when I'm doing it. That magnet's handy at holding everything together. Now, there's a little cam in here, and that also stabilizes the motor position. I'll show you all this when we're putting it together. I'm going to take the circuit clip off him and we'll clean all this up, and that's actually a little offset cam. And as you can see, now I'm still going to take this out and put a dab of very light grease on him. That little fella spins okay, there's no need to pull any more of that off. And clean this up. Okay, we will clean our disc. Just, it's looking rather, yeah, just needs a clean up. And of course our motor pulley. Now there's one of these little screws that was very, very tight actually. I'll probably take both them out, lube them up with a bit of WD-40 or something like that, just to make sure that they're right to go in. The collar was quite good. So yeah, okay. We'll get into doing some of this. That's what's got to be done, and I'll come back when I've cleaned up some parts and show you the oiling, and yeah, there's no need to see me cleaning these. So okay, we'll be back soon, probably 30 seconds for you guys.
Okay, well, we've cleaned up pretty well everything here, and I'm just soaking the oil overnight with these fellas, so we'll come back tomorrow. And yeah, everything else over there has been pretty well cleaned up, and we're ready to put him back together. All right, so that's where we're up to at the moment.
I would say it's put together time. So, where do we start? Let's start on this fella. Okay. Now, starting on this one, we'll put our wires down inside there, like that. Now, let's secure our cables. And I know what I should be using. We got slotted screws, okay? You know what I should be using. Let's get one. A split screwdriver, okay? This makes the job a little bit easier. I love them. Don't know whether you can still buy them or not. Line him up. Sorry about my hand in the road there, but not much I could do about it. Once we get this together, this will be the finish of part one, doing the motors. There'll be lots of parts to this, these, well, not restorations, but servicing or whatever you want to call them. There's quite a bit got to be done. Okay. Next bit. How about we put that on? Now, I'll just get a little dab of oil. A very small amount. If I can get a small amount out of this thing. There we go. Drop him in. Look at that. Nice. Okay. Now, just put a dab of oil just on the bearing itself. And he goes on like so. If I can find the shaft. Where are we? There we go. Lovely. Okay. I'll screw him up. I'll get one screw in. And we'll make him this one. I can push him in. There we just got to get him all lined up. These little nuts have to actually go on one way. And I just use a screwdriver to start the nuts going. Nip him up. It's enough for the moment to hold him together. We've got our ground wire on this one. And you just got to wriggle these to get them in. Okay. There is a round side of these nuts, and there's actually a flat side. The flat side, of course, goes down. Now we can tighten these up just a little bit on here. And yeah, that looks good. They're in the right positions on that side. Right. Now, to get the bearings in the right, position sort of thing, because they can swivel, those little fellas, they actually move around. Just lightly, very, very lightly, give the shaft, just don't do this hard at all. Okay. And yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay. Now, we'll put our disc on. And there's a little collar goes on the disc. Now, I'll just pause the video for a bit because I want to just lubricate these tiny screws in here a little bit. One was fairly tight, and I'll do that with the actual pulley collar as well. Okay, so yeah, they were just a little bit tight. Done those little screws. We'll put the collar on. Won't tighten him up yet because we've got to set the height of our brake disc. Now, what I'm going to do, seeing it was already set up in the first place and, was working at some stage, what I'm going to do there is put the magnet on, and we'll set the height of the disc with the magnet. Okay, so yeah. Alrighty. I'll just position myself here. And when I put this on, which will go on like that, put a little bit of grease on the inside. Just a moment. This is a bit of a different video. There's not a lot of editing in it. I want you to see things as I'm doing it. Okay, so I've got a cotton bud or a Q-tip or whatever you want to call it. Just go in there and put some, it's just light grease, standard light grease. Okay, a little bit of grease around the bottom of him. Slip him on, and yeah, that's running nicely. All right, circlip. Or an O-God clip, as I've mentioned earlier. Right. That's good. And of course, this is adjustable. This little fella, we're setting our exact speed to the center. Like if you want 33, these turntables will go from 31 to about 34.5, I think. So if you want it dead on 33, when this is in a certain position, you adjust this little cam that alters the setting of the magnet per the control at the front. But that's a long way down the track yet. We've got to get to that stage. Okay. Now, we'll bring our disc up so that it is just underneath, but not touching the magnet, okay? Which would be around about there. Now, we've got to make sure our rotor is pushed right down on the motor. And if we tighten him, I can get in there. Just a moment. I'll get another screwdriver. Now, it's just touching, just off. Okay. He's not touching there, but very, very close. And as I've said, you can alter the height of the magnet with this as well, but I don't want to alter that. That's where it was set, and that's more or less a factory job. You can reset them, but there's no need to with this. That's tight. That's tight. And that's tight. Okay. And that's how your motor should run. Okay. So it should be that free. Okay. The next job, let's put him back in his carriage and then we can test everything. I'm sure everything will be right. Hang on. I've gone the wrong way. Okay. Let's go this way. And that will be a fair bit better. So now we've got to put all in our little pegs in here and put our springs in. Okay, so our little spring dampeners, they can go on the top here. Let's put the pins in. Pins and a little circlip. Now, we go from the top side here, and I'll just get this so I can slip him in there. There we go. One in, and now the tricky bit, pushing our circlips on. We've got to be fairly alert when we're doing these, because these fellas can really disappear quick on you. Push him on. There we go. Okay. And the next one and the next one, like so. I go in from the top end.
that's the way they came out. And we'll repeat the procedure underneath, but I won't record all that for you. Push him down. There. Okay, so that's all our springs on top. We'll turn him over, do the bottom. Now, when I've done the bottom, it's the same thing. It's exactly the same as doing the top. Okay, so I'll do these now and come back very shortly on the video once we finish that, and we'll plug him in and test him. Okay, all done. And he's resting on his springs, no problem. As you can see, a pretty nifty looking setup, isn't it? Yeah, very, very nice. Okay, next bit, we'll get a brown and blue leads, and we'll do what we did on the first one and put some leads on here, which is, yeah, we'll put some bootlace ends on them, and then we'll fire him up and test him. Okay, that's got our wiring on there. Now, another thing I'd like to point out is in Australia here, we operate on 240 volts, 50 cycle. Now, with that, there's two little springs here. They join those two circuits together there, or those two wires, and from there to there is then 240 volts. Now, each of these pair is 115 volts. Okay, so if you want it to run at 115, 120, you take these two little springs off here, you put one on this end, one on that end. Okay, so it's actually going right across it. It's going from this one to this one rather than parallel of those two, which is 115 volt each winding. Okay, hope that makes sense. But anyway, that's just a little trick. We'll find a cover for this and a nut, and then we'll put some bootlace ends on these, and we'll plug it in, see if it works. Righto, guys, just connected up the dim bulb to this fella, running on 230 volts, 235 actually. We will have to push our switch, our operation switch, to get this to work, so it'll mean that I shall flick our dim bulb on. Yes, power is now on. Let's push this, and there she goes. Let it off, and that looks pretty nice. That's running very nice. Okay, this is our speed control, and yeah, that definitely works. You guys can probably see the strobing in the center of it, varying speed there as I come out, going faster and slowing down. Yeah, alrighty, going like a dream. Righto, guys, well, that's a wrap for this video. I have done both the motors. Now, we know they're both working fine. There's no problems whatsoever with the motors. So that's complete. Next time, a couple of little things. We'll do progressive videos. This was the big one. Now,
what I want to do is take these switches apart and clean the contacts. Also make sure our contacts are okay in the strobe lights, and have a look at the strobe neons, and of course this switch as well. So that's sort of in the next video. I don't want to bore you with long videos on this. It'll be just mostly short ones. This one, as I said, bit longer because of what had to be done to the motors. Unfortunately, you missed the first one, but no worries. All right. I hope you're enjoying this. I would really like it if you give me a thumbs up. Let me know, and subscribe. That way, as soon as I do the next video on these, you'll be notified. Okay. So until next time, bye for now.